My name is Jason Miller. I'm 23 years old, and until last year, I worked as a night nurse at St. Mary's Hospital in Wisconsin. I've seen strange things in my life: accidents, deaths, even people who swore they saw angels in their final minutes. But nothing like what happened in room 209. The first time I noticed something was off, it was a Wednesday. 3:07 a.m. I remember the exact time because that's when the heart monitor at the nurse's station started beeping from a room that wasn't supposed to exist. Room 209 had been closed for over a year after a patient named Eleanor Gray died there under unclear circumstances. She was old, nearly blind, and according to the report, she spent her last night screaming that someone was standing at the foot of her bed. When they found her, the heart monitor was unplugged. Most nurses avoided that hallway entirely after that. But I was new, so when the monitor lit up that night, I grabbed my clipboard and went. The corridor was dimly lit. One of the fluorescent bulbs kept flickering, making the shadows jump across the walls. When I reached 209, the air was colder. The door was half open. I called out, "Security? Anyone in here?" No answer. Just the soft hum of the old air vent. Then, I heard it breathing. Slow, ragged, coming from the bed. The sheets were pulled tight, but something underneath was rising and falling, like someone was lying there. I took a step closer, reached out, and the sheets collapsed flat. The monitor beside the bed showed a single reading. Heart rate, 92 BPM. There was no patient. No movement. No sound. But the intercom on my belt crackled to life. "Jason, don't wake him." The voice was low, distorted, like static underwater. I froze. My thumb hovered over the talk button, but before I could reply, the line went dead. When I stepped out of the room, I looked back once. The door, which had been half open, slowly swung shut on its own. The next morning, I asked the night supervisor about room 209. He frowned, then looked at me like I'd said a forbidden word. "That room's been locked since the Eleanor case," he said quietly. "Don't go near it again." But that wasn't the last time I heard the monitor. For the next 3 nights, always around 3:10 a.m., the same pattern repeated: beeping from room 209, faint crying from the hallway, and a cold draft that made my skin crawl. On the 4th night, I decided to record it. I placed my phone on the floor outside 209, camera facing the door, recording from midnight till 4 a.m. When I checked the footage the next morning, most of it was static. But at 3:12 a.m., a figure appeared. It wasn't clear, just a shadow, pale and hunched, stepping out of the room. It paused in front of the camera, tilting its head as if listening. Then it whispered, right into the microphone, "He's not asleep anymore." That's when the footage cut off. I showed it to another nurse, Carla. She didn't laugh, she just stared at me with wide eyes and said, "Jason, you need to delete that. Now." Then she walked away without another word. That day, I found a note in my locker. No name, no signature. Just one sentence, written in shaky handwriting. "Don't record him again." The following week, things escalated. The lights on the 3rd floor began flickering randomly. The elevator stopped responding whenever someone tried to go down between 3 o'clock and 4 a.m. And the air vents started whispering. At first I thought it was my imagination, just the sound of wind. But one night, while checking the patient chart near 209, I clearly heard a voice through the vent. "Help me, it's cold." I leaned in, trying to listen closer, and the voice suddenly screamed, "Get out." I stumbled back, dropped my flashlight, and bolted down the hall. When I got back to the station, every screen on the monitor board was showing static except one. Room 209. The camera feed was active again. There was a patient in the bed, hooked to wires. His chest rose and fell. Then, as I watched, he sat up. The feed cut to black. The hospital administration ordered the third floor closed for maintenance the next day. But I stayed, something in me needed to know what was happening. So that night, I went back up alone, flashlight in one hand, recorder in the other. As I reached 209, I heard humming. It was faint, like an old lullaby. I opened the door and saw a figure sitting on the bed. Its back was to me, shoulders thin, hospital gown torn. "Ma'am," I whispered. "Do you need help?" The figure turned. It wasn't a woman. It wasn't alive. The skin was gray, eyes sunken, mouth half open as if gasping for breath. It looked straight at me and said in a wet, gurgling voice, "He's awake now." The heart monitor beside the bed went wild, beeping faster and faster until it flatlined. I ran. But as I reached the elevator, the doors opened by themselves. Inside, the lights flickered and someone was already standing there. Eleanor Gray. Or whatever was left of her. She smiled. "Don't wake him." The doors closed. I woke up in the hospital's basement hours later. Security found me unconscious beside the old elevator shaft, the same one that hadn't been used in years. They said there was no power outage, no open elevator doors, nothing caught on camera. But when I checked my phone, there was a new recording. No timestamp, no file name. Just one video. I pressed play. The footage showed me standing in front of room 209, looking terrified. Behind me, in the doorway, a figure leaned forward, whispering into my ear. Then the camera turned toward the bed. Someone was lying there, pale, motionless. Me. The video ends with the same voice I've heard every night since. "He's still not asleep. I quit St. Mary's that week." But every night, at 3:12 a.m., my phone lights up a notification I can't delete. Room 209 activity detected.